Welcome to Hero Club.
I'm Nick Williams.
And I'm George Primavera.
George and I started playing Dungeons & Dragons with our buddies in college, and we haven't stopped since. Even when we lived on opposite coasts, I would Skype in George on the TV in the living room of my apartment,
while I would DM from the floor of my bathroom so as not to wake up my roommate. When I finally came out to Los Angeles, we started playing with our friends right away.
And when we'd inevitably tell other people about the ultimate betrayals and daring heroics that happened in our games, we realized that they were just hearing a jumbled mess instead of the cinematic blockbuster memories that were in our heads. We wanted to show people how fun and immersive D&D can be, especially those who had never played.
And to do that, we record a full game like normal around the table and then painstakingly cut it down from 4 hours to a clean, math-free episode, so you can experience our memories the way we do.
Just like in a real game, nothing is ever written or planned out ahead of time with the players. The only things we add are music and sound effects.
I am the Dungeon Master. I build the world and the framework for an adventure. The players, like Nick, must then journey through the obstacles I set before them, rolling a 20-sided die and adding character-specific bonuses to see if they succeed. If they beat the number I have in my head, then their action is successful. If not, it is a failure, and there may be consequences. We try to follow the rules of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition as close as we can, but as the Dungeon Master, what I say goes, and there are some things I like to do differently.
Each season is its own contained story, so find one that sounds interesting to you and start from the top. And hey,
welcome to the club. And now, Hero Club presents The City of Mirrors, Volume 6, Train to Moscow.
The Daily Globetrotter is proud to present this week's top scoop from across the globe. After a harrowing aerial battle in the skies above Russia, disesteemed treasure hunter Theobald Daringcroft and his band of misfits suffered devastating damage to their one-of-a-kind flying machine, resulting in a harrowing crash. Leaving the cutting-edge doodad in the capable hands of a Russian mechanic, the party has set out for Moscow in the lap of luxury itself, the Krug Roskoshi locomotive. Will the weary travelers find refuge on the railway, or did they just buy a one-way ticket to their doom? Either way, the Daily Globetrotter will be there, so stay tuned. This week's episode is brought to you by Primavera's Port Imported Wines. Do you have a passion for fine wines without the means of travel? Well, have the wine come to you. Primavera's Port Wine is perfect for a night in, date night, or putting your child to sleep. Primavera's Port Wine is the only alcohol approved by the Child Welfare League of America. Primavera's Port Imported Wines, for the child who loves to drink. Now, back to the program.
The Krug Roskoshi pulls into Kursk with dramatic effect. Even before the train fully stops, attendants begin hopping off at various points and start helping the crowd of waiting passengers take their checked trunks and bags to the rear car. Sliding doors open up as the crowd gathers round to drop their excess things off before heading to the ticket taker adjacent. But just as the newly fancified party is about to approach, a hush falls over the crowd, and necks snap around to lay eyes on a couple of old folks blazing a path through the sea of patrons. Everybody make a perception check.
22.
11.
18.
7.
The first thing everyone notices is that walking between the extremely old man and much younger woman is a gloriously well-groomed wolf with snow-white fur. Its yellow eyes glare around the platform with uncharacteristic calm as it pads softly next to the truly ancient man. This man limps forward in a checked suit with a bejeweled cane supporting him. His slicked-back silver hair and tight-pressed suit is juxtaposed with his liver spots and foggy eyes. The woman at his side looks at least 30 years his junior and wears a stunning dress with little diamonds sewed into the fabric, hanging a bit loosely. She creates a disco ball effect as she walks towards the train, refracting the lantern light within the building in every direction. The woman passes very close to Theobald and Vanya, who notice that her jewels are hanging off the dress loosely and tantalizingly within reach as she passes. Theobald becomes distracted by this And Vanya, you watch as the man hobbles forward and begins to clamber onto the train, wordlessly waving on the wolf with his cane. And he follows with some assistance from the woman behind him.
I say, what a handsome creature. I am, of course, talking about all three.
Jade stares at the diamonds. Ugh. If I wasn't on a job right now. Oh.
Yes, Miss Pickitt, I understand the temptation, but please do try to remember that we ought to keep a low profile.
Is no one gonna talk about the wolf? I haven't seen a wolf in a town like this since the Great Wolf Incident in Fort Mercer in '03. That wolf took 30 kids that day. Bones stares off into the middle distance for just a moment, remembering the horrors of the Great Wolf Incident of Fort Mercer back in '03.
Vanya, also staring off into the middle distance. Under his breath, you just hear him whisper, Grigory.
Meanwhile, the conductor shouts in Russian for passengers to move along after they've gotten their bags up into the rear car. He stands there taking tickets as passengers embark onto the train.
Theobald opens his trunk and takes out his walking stick with a badger head, then closes it and gets ready to drag it to the porter.
I got that, Doc.
Oh, Mr. Mahoney, you are too kind. Theobald, free of encumbrance, steps jauntily over to the conductor and pulls out 4 tickets.
Theobald, make a perception check.
22.
As you approach the conductor, you notice that one of his arms hangs stiffly at his side at a rather bizarre angle, and upon closer inspection, you see that the man's left hand is made of wood, a prosthetic arm. The man's name tag reads Alexei, and he reaches forward for your tickets.
Dobre вечер, old chap.
Naslаждайтесь поездкой, sir, and gestures with his real arm towards the train car.
Thank you, my good man. Theobald slaps a generous tip into the man's good hand.
The man's eyebrows raise, and he then pipes up as Theobald is about to walk past him. I will take you to your train car, and begins to lead the party inward.
Thank you kindly, sir.
Right, I'll catch up.
Oh, yeah, I'll get your bag, I guess.
As the rest of the group ambles up into the train, Jade gets behind the young woman with the diamonds hanging off of her dress as she enters.
Make a stealth check.
23.
Jade ends up behind the rich couple. They do not notice her presence.
Hello. Jade pretends to stumble into the woman, meanwhile grabbing a small handful of diamonds from the back of her dress.
Make a sleight of hand check.
31. Oh, I'm so sorry, miss. Terribly sorry.
Irritated, the woman continues forward in a huff, leaving Jade behind with a handful of little diamonds.
Hello, my pretties.
Jade, you watch the 3 disappear further into the next train car, catching a little glimpse of the old man as he waves the wolf through to the next car, and then the trio disappear. The conductor leads the rest of the party onto the train to join Jade. He seems a bit surprised to see her, but continues past her, leading the group to their quarters.
Having hung back and dealt with each person's luggage as they abandoned them to him, Bones jogs up the train to catch up to the group.
And as you do, a skinny-looking man shoulders past you. Простите меня, sir, извините. You check your pockets quickly as this man jostles you, concluding that he has not reached into your pockets for anything. But he does appear to be very sweaty, very nervous, and very focused.
I guess all the dingbats ride inside the train instead of in the boxcars.
And the conductor leads the party into a passenger car. The train cars are rather wide, with hallways running along the left side of the train and rooms bordering each other along the right. The conductor stops at a door smack dab in the middle of the whole train and grabs a key from a little retractable string on his belt loop. He unlocks a well-oiled sliding door and reveals a room with 4 beds all stacked on top of each other with ladders. There's a bit of storage space bordering the curtained windows in the form of a large, lockable trunk, as well as a little additional room with a wooden door for a bit of privacy. Get yourselves settled for night. Breakfast will be served in dining car at 8 a.m. Extra blankets are in trunk. It gets cold. Combination is 1894. I will be back to check in for lights out. We ask from hours of 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. You keep primarily to room, though if you must leave for emergency, please report it to me at front of train. Is good?
Splendid. More than good. Fantastic, old man. Thank you very much. Theobald slaps another generous tip into the man's hand.
The corner of the man's lips raise, his hopes fulfilled, and he bows out of the room, closing the door behind him.
Bones takes his hat off and tosses it perfectly onto a hook before grabbing the top bunk and bodily throwing himself up onto it.
I dare say if I were a few years younger, I'd be beating you to that, my man. Theobald hangs his cane on a wall hanger and his hat over that, and then flops onto the bottom bunk.
Jade takes her sharp silver pin out of her hat, releasing her hair down, throws her hat to the side of the other top bunk, and hops up onto it, settling in.
Well, good night, fellas.
Vanya flops into bed, staring blankly upwards, and tries to sleep.
I must say, this is lovely. Living the good life, enjoying the lap of luxury, a much-needed respite from roughing it on the trail. This is without a doubt my favorite part.
The train lurches forward after a steam whistle blares. As the party settles in to drift off to sleep, we focus on Bones. Bones, within the confines of your dream space, you find yourself flying high above the clouds in Lucille's pilot seat, when suddenly, there is a voice from behind you.
Wow, Bones! Sure is incredible up here. Ha!
Sitting in the rear seat is an enormous chimpanzee holding a skull in its lap. Bones, make a wisdom save.
Botch.
Listen, Bones, remember when we talked earlier about your friend Theobald?
Yeah?
Look, fella, I hate to say this, but I think he might be fixing to take me away from you for real this time. And that'd be a dang shame, because then you wouldn't be able to unlock my power.
Well, dang, I wouldn't want that. I want that power.
Of course you do. You're familiar with my power, of course, right?
Bones genuinely thinks for a second, trying to recall if he does.
Oh, come on, I'm a famous artifact. You don't know nothing about me? That's all right. Let me give you the rundown. So basically, anyone who holds on to me is completely immortal and can never die. Unless, of course, it's by the hand of another person who's touched me. So,
Wait, so you're saying that the doc could kill me, but no one else can?
And suddenly, the plane dives into a death spiral. The plane explodes upon impact. Bones wakes up sweating and goes back to sleep.
All right.
Theobald, within the confines of your dream space, you find yourself walking between towering shelves of books and academic papers, with plush chairs and cushions laid out in a way that is reminiscent of your own study back in Bravegate Manor, though not quite the same. As you round the corner, you are met with the visage of an enormous chimpanzee with a skull in its lap, wearing spectacles, and poring over what looks like an array of maps and star charts.
Theobald, old bean. Pleasure to finally meet you, my good man.
The pleasure's all mine. I'm going to have a brandy. Would you like one?
Oh, very much so. Thank you, sir.
Theobald heads over to a globe, which he opens. He pours a brandy for himself and another for the talking chimp.
Theobald, make a wisdom save.
Also a botch.
The chimpanzee gratefully takes the glass from Theobald.
Sir Daringcroft, I have to open with the fact that I am a tremendous fan of your work. To have discovered the lost city of Atlantis only to have it disappear when returning to it with all the king's men. Devastating, my friend. My condolences.
Oh, thank you so much. Do you mind me asking, what brings you to my study?
I do not mind explaining at all, Theobald. You see, I believe at some point you have come into physical contact with my artifact form. Is that correct?
Yes, quite right.
Yes, well, to explicate further, I have a bit of power in me, so to speak, that I would very much like to lend to you.
Oh? Do go on, old chap.
Well, while I am being held by a worthy fellow such as yourself, I can essentially grant the holder protection from any form of death, except at the hands of anyone else who has touched me in some way. Yes, in fact, that does bring me to the purpose of my visit this evening. Your compatriot, Roy Mahoney.
Ah, yes, top man, that.
Well, Theobald, I fear he may be about to act irrationally.
How do you mean?
Well, he truly does not wish you to possess me. He is completely consumed by this that I offer. Do just keep an eye out for caution's sake, yes?
Yes, of course. No, but, one question. There was a time where you were taken from both myself and Roy Mahoney, and were in the clutches of Lady Maywater and that Helmut Wolf character. Did either of them touch you?
Oh, no, my good man. I believe I was taken by a Hessian soldier at some point, but I don't believe he survived your onslaught.
I see.
Oh dear, Theobald, it would seem our time is running short.
The chimpanzee checks a clock on the wall that is spinning at a rapid speed.
Don't worry, we shall talk again, just to check in, yes?
Yes. Bottoms up.
And before Theobald can take a drink, the door to your room in the train busts open.
Everybody up, let's go. Front of train.
What? Oh my word.
Front of train.
What the hell?
Theobald checks to see if this guy is in uniform.
He is in the train attendant's uniform.
Just a moment, sir, not without my effects. Theobald makes sure to grab his walking stick and put his jacket on.
You are being hurried along quite severely, and you see that there are a stream of passengers behind this attendant also heading to the front of the car. It would seem that all of the train's passengers are being corralled forward.
What's the meaning of this? Some lap of luxury.
Just do what he says. This is not something to be silly or funny with. Vanya takes his bundled up clothes and walks forward.
Theobald joins him.
Bones grabs his hat and coat and trudges out of the cabin, throwing a sidelong glance at Theobald as he does, but saying nothing.
Jade jumps down from the bed and carefully slips the diamonds that she stole in her boot before following the rest.
The party shuffles forward amidst the crowd as everyone is exiting their rooms, confused and sleepy. The train's motion has arrested, and as the group travels between train cars, they gaze out onto forested Russian wilderness, still and quiet. Off to the other side is a small booth with wires disappearing into the distance along the train tracks. After passing through a final passenger car, the crowd reaches the dining car, with table booths lining each side and a small bar counter at the far end. The car is packed with a crowd now, all muttering to each other about what possibly could have happened. And as everyone gathers into the room, crammed like sardines in a can, a voice rises above the din, calling for everyone's attention.
Excuse me, if you please. As you turn, you see a figure standing in what is almost a pose with his back to you. The first thing you make out is a gray wool-felt pork pie hat set atop wavy tresses of chestnut brown hair. Beneath that stands a rail-thin man in his late 30s, wearing a burgundy Italian suit and cape. His gray eyes scan the train car relentlessly, and the wry scowl on his face is accentuated by the pencil-thin mustache on his upper lip. If you would please give me your attention, I believe that there has been a murder most foul. Luckily, I am here. My name is Detective Carmelo Roberto Calatabiano, and I am going to solve this case.
The train attendants back everyone up against the wall, clearly at the behest of the detective.
Good. Everybody stay where you are. We will have this figured out. Toot sweet.
Theobald turns to Jade, barely able to contain himself. Murder on a train. What awful business. I'm so excited.
The detective begins to make the rounds around the entire perimeter of the train car, speaking to every single passenger individually for a moment. When he reaches your group, he scans all of your faces.
May I ask what brings you to Moscow?
I'm just here for the food.
The detective's eyes scan your face.
Jade winks.
Jade, make a deception check.
22.
Detective, make an insight check.
21. I do like a good borscht. And the rest of you?
I'm returning home. I have some friends and family I need to see to.
Vanya, deception check.
6.
Detective, an insight check.
25.
Mr. Calatabiano, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Sir Theobald Daringcroft, and this is my valet, Roy Bones Mahoney. I'm headed to Moscow to buy some property in the area.
Bones looks at Theobald confused. I thought we were trying to find that dead guy's golden apple
like
in his
I
apartment.
said, purchasing some property.
The detective's face remains stone still, except for one eyebrow, which cocks hard. I'm going to need all of you to stay here, and please turn out your pockets.
Attendants gather around the detective intimidatingly. Each individual member of the party does so, turning out their pockets. and then the detective reaches Jade.
Jade smiles and takes a suggestive step forward.
You want to reach in for me?
Make a persuasion check.
15.
The attendants blush and back away, but the detective seems unfazed and frisks you thoroughly. It's when he gets down to Jade's boots that he freezes, reaches inside, and pulls out a handful of diamonds.
This is a very interesting. Keep her here, please.
And the attendants seize Jade's arms.
Come on! They're mine!
Theobald steps forward. Excuse me, gentlemen. Surely this is a misunderstanding. There must be something I could do. Theobald locks eyes with the man he deems the weakest-willed attendant.
That is quite a fancy hat you are wearing, sir. Are you sure that you want to throw it in with a murderer?
What? Murderer? I didn't kill nobody.
I can assure you, my good man, I am sharing a cabin with Miss Pickitt, and though a complete stranger to me, I can vouch for her whereabouts. We were in the same quarters all night.
Bones, now very irritated at Theobald, steps forward. Stranger? That is the rudest thing I have ever heard. Mr. Calatabiano, we have been working together for quite a while, and I can vouch for her character.
Then perhaps you can also explain why she has the jewels of the deceased.
Now you listen to me, whoever you are. I got these diamonds fair and square. Some lady hit me with a trunk and she felt poorly about it, and so she gave me some of her diamonds from her dress. That's the only interaction we ever had, honest.
Make a deception check, Jade.
27.
Detective, make an insight check.
21. How exactly were these diamonds given to you?
Well, sir, if you saw the lady, you'd have seen that the diamonds hang rather loosely from her dress, like they were about to fall off anyway. So when she wielded a trunk round, hitting me square on the head, a few of them fell off, and I was nice enough to pick them up, hand them back to her like any honest person. But she said, no, keep them for your trouble.
I am sure then that when she awakes, she will be able to corroborate your story.
Jade's left eye twitches ever so slightly. That she will.
Excuse me, sir. Did you not say that these diamonds belonged to the deceased?
The deceased party. I'm afraid it is her husband, Mr. Dmitri Balandin, who has left us this evening.
What? That old gold brick with the wolf? Did the wolf take him? I've seen that happen before, back in 03.
If the wolf is responsible, he has certainly gone the way of Juliet.
What, I'm really sorry, I'm not picking up what you're putting down.
Shakespeare's Juliet?
An attendant comes in from the rear of the train and immediately goes to the detective.
What news?
We've come back from the train cars, and we've found something rather suspicious.
And the attendant looks at the party. He holds open a cloth, within which are several knives, all Jade's.
They are about the same size and shape as murder weapon.
Good with a knife, it would seem.
My dear deceased father was a wood carver, and yes, I've taken after him in his trade. Before I wanted to see the world, like I'm doing now.
Make a deception check, Jade, this time at disadvantage.
15.
Detective, another insight check.
21. It would seem, much like my grandmother's Alfredo sauce, the plot has thickened. Everybody, you may make your way back to your rooms. We have a prime suspect.
Jade starts to walk back to her room.
Not to you, please, miss. You are going to stay right to where I can see you.
Right. Here we go.
And suddenly, the two attendants step forward as the detective hands them a pair of handcuffs, and Jade is restrained.
Sir, what if you're wrong?
If I am wrong, which I have never been, then we still have a murderer on a train. But if I am right, then this is a murderer on a train.
Well, my good chap, there's a first time for everything.
Like he said, now boys, my new friends, would you be so kind as to figure out who did this, because it wasn't me.
You're saying new friends. Why is everyone so rude all of a sudden?
I would like to speak to this man. And the detective points at Bones.
Bones, perhaps a more discreet approach is...
Bones shrugs Theobald off. Good, because I'd like to talk to this guy. Bones throws a meaty finger right into Carmelo's face. Let's do this, pal!
If you were to follow me. And the detective leads Bones over to the other side of the dining car, far away from the rest of the party.
Don't touch me! Get your hands off me!
Theobald scans the crowd, looking for suspicious figures who could be the actual murderer.
Theobald, roll an insight check.
17.
There's not much to see amidst the crowd. Most of these folks are very rich and wealthy and very shocked looking. The only person that doesn't fit this description is a very tall man with tattoos running up his arms, disappearing beneath his sleeves, and a bit of an obvious scar running from his left eye down to his cheek. The conductor stands at the end of the car, with his hair askew, sweating, and looking absolutely distraught.
Theobald tries to get a closer look at the man's tattoos to see if he recognizes any specifics.
Theobald, roll a history check.
23.
Tattoos commonly given to Russian convicts. Upon closer inspection, you do see that the man has tattoos on his neck that delineate successful eliminations. This man is a murderer.
Vanya looks around at the attendants. Are we allowed to sit down?
The attendant curtly points to one of the table booths adjacent.
All right. Theo, these things have a way of working themselves out. Let's just, sit and wait. Something will happen, I believe it.
Couldn't agree more, old chap. Theobald slides lackadaisically into the booth, and then his head snaps to Vanya. I don't agree, and I don't think this situation will work itself out. Have you got anything on you, old man, that could help spur a resolution along?
What are you talking about, Theo?
I don't know, some sort of non-lethal distraction bomb? You are the explosives expert, man.
Vanya looks around, confused. No, it's all in cargo. I couldn't fit anything under my caftan. Also, Theo, I don't think you're thinking this straight.
Well, 2 of our party are being detained or unfairly interrogated. So why don't you help to straighten me out, Vanya?
Jade carefully reaches into a secret pocket in the back of her coat, pulling out a pin and tries to uncuff herself without anyone noticing.
Make a thieves' tools check with disadvantage.
28.
Jade, with her hands behind her back, very slowly, quietly, and carefully unlocks the cuffs, but maintains her position and casual look. Meanwhile, on the other side of the train car,
the detective wheels around on Bones, doffing his hat and pressing it to his chest. Now, my good man, it is clear to me that the other members of this group have conspired behind your back and fed you some kind of a falsehood. I do not believe that you are responsible for a murder, but it is clear to me that you are the only truly innocent party.
Wow, that's a spicy theater you got there. You sure it wasn't one of your mafioso cousins?
Calatabiano's face doesn't change, but his fingers lightly move along the brim of his hat. Perhaps then you could explain it to me why they all have a story that you don't seem to be a part of.
Listen, they're their own people. They can do and say whatever the hell they want. But if we get down to brass tacks here, I was in the same room with them all night long, and I can vouch for their whereabouts.
The detective nods. Very well. Then perhaps you will come with me to the crime scene and we can take a look, shall we?
Oh, I'd love to see this. Please, show me the crime scene, Mr. Detective.
Suddenly, a couple of attendants are at Bones' side.
Get your hands off me.
With a flourish, Calatabiano replaces his hat upon his head and heads towards the exit of the train car.
The attendants also bring Bones along. And in the next car, the attendants stop near the first door.
Calatabiano raises his hand and knocks curtly on the door.
The attendant opens the door and allows the detective and Bones to enter the room, bowing out and leaving them alone. The room is a bloody mess. Lying on the bed is the ancient man from earlier, a stab wound directly over his heart, with a stream of blood leaking onto the sheets and pooling beneath him. Lying on the floor in a puddle of blood is the enormous, beautiful wolf, lying completely still. Sticking out of the wolf's throat is an enormous knife. A quick sweep around the room reveals that all of the jewels and objects of value appear to be missing from the room.
Calatabiano gestures towards the wolf. Quite a beautiful creature. Such a shame.
You say that now. but they ain't so beautiful when they're absconding with the mayor.
You have a history with wolves?
Oh, buddy, you could say that. It was back in '03 in Fort Mercer.
I do not mean to interrupt, but there are only so many men on this train who would be able to fell such a beast.
Bones, make an investigation check.
13.
Bones, as you bend down to look at the wolf's still form, you lay a finger on the knife that is protruding from the wolf's throat, and you identify it as a chef's kitchen knife.
I've been in my fair share of kitchens, and if you ask me, you're looking for a homicidal chef.
In one fluid motion, Calatabiano stoops to his knee to examine the knife, then looks to Bones. Perhaps we should return to the dining car.
And the detective leads Bones back to the rest of the party.
Hands off me!
I'm not even touching you. I learned my lesson.
So, did you find out who actually did it?
We're looking for a killer chef.
I don't know how many investigations you have done. It's better not to scream out what the kind of suspect we are looking for, lest they try to get away before you find them.
I just want everyone to be aware of the egregious mistakes you've already been making in this investigation.
There is no reason to believe yet that there were not more than one guilty party involved. Perhaps you took something from the kitchen. Perhaps the chef was an accomplice. Either way, it does behoove us all to talk to him.
With a nod of his head, the detective signals a couple of attendants to go and grab the chef, and soon, they bring back into the dining car the massive tattooed man that Theobald had been looking at earlier. The attendants seem a little bit wary to hold him bodily, and the chef freely sits in a big plush chair in front of the detective.
Make this quick. I was sleeping.
Undoubtedly, you had a very busy night. May I ask your name?
Adrian.
Adrian. Adrian, did you know that a knife found at the scene of the crime seems to have come from your kitchen?
The chef is silent.
Perhaps you can explain to us how that might have happened?
I do not keep track of knives.
Not a very good chef, are you?
The chef turns to look at Jade with a glare that implies many murders past, and then returns his attention to the detective.
If you cannot prove, let me leave.
Oh, I fully attend to proof. But I just want to ask you some questions. Do you know that woman? He says, pointing at Jade.
No.
Is there any reason to believe that she might have entered the kitchens at any time?
I am only to work in kitchen for breakfast.
I see. So you say there is a large period of time where the kitchens are unmanned?
The chef nods.
Interesting.
The chef holds up his right hand, which is missing several fingers.
My stabbing days are done.
Oh, you got two of them, don't you?
He holds up the left hand, which has no fingers on it.
Right.
They hired this guy to cook on a fancy train?
My Julienne is legend.
I must express some surprise. I dare say that cooking and preparing meals requires much more dexterity than simply stabbing a man.
But it does seem that it would be difficult to stab a wolf. That sort of a thrust seems like it would require a little more power.
But a rather large gentleman who is an experienced killer could likely accomplish that task, no?
I said I do not kill. I have served time.
Vanya, having met many men like this before, scrutinizes him.
Roll an insight check.
19.
While certainly capable of violence, this man seems to be adamantly telling the truth, though there is some reason for the ending of his murdering days that he is holding back.
One question, and then, if you don't mind, I will ask our friend here one as well. How much blood was at the scene?
Oh, just buckets of pasta sauce.
I would really appreciate if you stopped using culturally specific references.
Bones looks around for support and finds none.
You do not get away with killing a wolf clean. And look at Tea Leaf here. Brand new clothes, beautiful, absolutely spotless.
Thank you, Vanya. That's right. Have a look at all my things since you've already been into my knives.
Vanya, make a persuasion check, with advantage, as Jade accentuates the point.
12.
The detective appears to consider this, but is still stone-faced.
If you keep assuming that this man has something to do with it, and not ask a simple question why, then you will never get anywhere. The question you want to ask this man here is, tell us why you have stopped killing.
Roll a persuasion check, Vanya.
19.
The chef grits his teeth, closes his eyes for a moment, and then relents.
I have daughter now. I've trained for money to pay for daughter's schooling. I have been prisoner. I know that the sentences will last me for decades, and I will miss everything if I am to be caught doing illegal things.
And, let me guess. If you had done something like this, back in the day, it would have been done better and cleaner, yes?
The man does not respond, but meets Vanya's gaze in a way that makes him feel like it's an affirmative response.
I'm sorry to say, Detective, that, at least the people that you have in question, not one of us were, present in that car. Not one of us killed them.
You all seem to fancy yourselves detectives as well, though I am the one who is on the case. Perhaps we are talking to somebody who was there. And he snaps for an attendant. Would you please bring the deceased's valet to come talk to me?
The attendant disappears with a nod and soon brings back the sweaty man who collided with Bones earlier.
Hello, I heard that you wanted to talk to me?
Yes, please sit and make yourself comfortable.
Oh, yes, of course.
But not too comfortable.
The man freezes like a shocked deer and then very slowly sits down in the chair. He is sweating. He also appears to have a wound on his head, just above his left brow.
I heard you had questions about what happened.
Yes, I was hoping you could tell me what transpired last night while you were on the duty.
Oh, yes, I was at my post outside of Balandin and Luna's room, doing my job to keep watch, and then when I was looking out the window during the nighttime, somebody came up from behind me and struck me over the head, and I was unconscious.
So you did not see any of these people happen to move towards the train car?
I may have seen a reflection of a woman.
And he looks at Jade.
Jade scowls at the sweating, skinny man.
Excuse me, but if you look at him and you look at me, you can see I'm at least 8 inches his junior. How exactly could I hit him over the head?
Igor the valet has no response for this, but looks to the detective.
It is not impossible, but it certainly does seem to corroborate your story.
Having both received and inflicted many a head wound in his day, Bones inspects the man's head.
Theobald does the same, having seen plenty of head wounds, but experienced slightly fewer.
Both of you roll a medicine check.
11.
16.
Theobald, as you look closer at the wound above the man's brow, you come to a rather obvious realization. How could this man have been struck on the head from behind if the wound is towards the front of his head?
My dear man, forgive me for prying, but how can you explain being struck from behind when the wound is clearly closer to the front of your head?
And yes, I, the detective, have a follow-up question. How is it that you say you are hit from behind when clearly your wound is on the front of your head?
The man looks shocked for a moment. His hands shoot to his wound.
Oh, I turned around and then I was struck by somebody from behind who was then in front of me.
You lying little devil. Out with it.
Theobald grabs the man by the chin and gets right in to that wound, looking specifically for teeth or claw marks.
The wound definitely appears to have been blunt force.
If you would please on hand the suspects of my investigation.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I got a bit carried away. This is all so exciting.
Excuse me. Why am I the only suspect, by the way, without any blood on me, without sweating profusely? Why am I the only one in handcuffs?
Pretty sexist if you ask me, detective.
I agree. I move that Miss Pickitt be released forthwith.
Calatabiano looks a little bit flustered, but shakes it off and moves towards Jade. If you would please extend your hands, I will remove your cuffs.
No need.
And she pulls her hands out and puts the handcuffs in his hands.
Alright, will someone please put this woman immediately back into these handcuffs?
And Jade is recuffed.
God damn it.
I think you'll find there's no point in doing that, old chap.
I may go, yes?
Absolutely not.
You may stay right where you are. Because right now you have a guilt written all over your face and your head.
But I have a wound. How could I have been culprit? I love Mr. Balandin and Luna and Karine, his wife. I served Mr. Balandin and his wife for years.
Then why did you let him die?
No, I did not. No!
You did!
No, it is not.
It is your fault that he is dead.
I drank so much the night before.
I knew it!
I drank too much by accident. It is not my fault. It just happened last night. I come to this bar car and drinks, they just come in front of me over and over again, and I continue to drink, and I continue to drink, and then I am so drunk that I pass out near a water closet. I have failed my post.
Yes, you have failed your post.
Detective Calatabiano.
Yes.
I can see that you take your job as a detective very seriously, and you have no problems pushing a man to his emotional limits. To that point, has the deceased's wife awoken yet?
Calatabiano nods to one of the nearby attendants. Go see.
And soon, as Igor blubbers in the corner, an attendant returns with a dazed-looking Karine Balandin, a very similar wound on the side of her head. As she approaches, she is sobbing into a handkerchief.
Bellissima, please sit down.
Oh, Dimitri. Oh, Luna. Oh, no.
Gov, has anyone looked around to see where that old man's cane went off to? Looks like it would be a good thing for, smacking people round the head.
Both his cane and her jewels are not in his cabin. We do have people searching the cars to try to find them.
Right. Very good. Would you mind getting one of your attendants to stand guard in front of our room, lest somebody, seeing you cornering me off in these handcuffs, decides to frame us even further?
Yeah, or rifle through our stuff.
Very well. You, please.
And an attendant leaves to supposedly stand guard outside of their room.
My dear man, if I may, I have quite a bit of experience in finding objects. I would love to throw my name into the hat and join the search party for those items, if you'll have me.
As of right now, none of you are exonerated. I would prefer you not going around the carta without my express permission.
Theobald fails to hide his disappointment.
Karine sits down in the chair, still sobbing into her handkerchief.
Vanya, having been betrayed by all of his wives, scrutinizes Karine further.
Roll an insight check with advantage.
Dirty 20.
This woman's tears are forced.
Oh, Dimitri.
Why are you crying over someone that you obviously did not love?
What did you say?
That should start you on the right track, detective.
I loved my husband and my Luna.
Of course. And then nobody is saying that you're not. The detective shoots a look over at Vanya and then back to the woman. But perhaps you could tell us a little more about what you remember from last night.
Of course. I wake up in middle of night after I hear Luna yell, and then I look around. It is all very dark, and the man, as I stand up out of the bed, he smashes my head against the post and knocks me out, and then I wake up again and see my husband and my Luna dead.
Pardon me, but this kind lady just said that a man knocked her out, and, as you can see, I am no man.
Another breadcrumb on the path towards your innocence. However, it seems that your bold friend has deemed these tears those of a crocodile. So perhaps we should investigate further.
What does this mean? Crocodile tears?
For sure. A trick or a trap to hide some deeper motivation.
The woman looks hard at everyone for a moment as her eyes flip back and forth, and then she immediately ceases crying.
All right, yes. I did not care much for Dimitri. I am sad about Luna, for she was very sweet, but truly I am looking for my missing jewels.
What makes us think that you did not kill your husband then?
Why would I kill my husband? He was going to die soon anyway. I've been very patient.
Also, as I say this, it makes no sense that you would then take your jewels, which is the thing that you just said you care most about, and remove them from your person, I strike my previous question from the record. Everybody who is here, forget that I asked it. I am still a great detective.
Well, as long as I have been exonerated, I shall wait by the bar for the return of my gems and other precious things.
And she gets up in a huff and walks over to the bar counter.
So, if she did not kill him, we must ask the next question, which is, why is she alive right now?
A good question indeed. Perhaps a return to the scene of the crime will tell us some more.
Just, mulling things over here. Why would I steal 5 tiny diamonds from this woman's dress if I plan to knock 'em all off and steal the lot of 'em later? And by the way, where are the jewels?
Calatabiano strokes his pencil mustache thoughtfully. You do make a very good point, daughter of a wood carver. Perhaps, for once, my first thought was not the best.
Thank you. Can I get out of these cuffs now?
No. Now, to the room!
And the detective brings all of you along this time to the crime scene, the attendants keeping a very close eye on all of you. As you depart the dining car and end up in the passenger car, you all get a look at the bloody mess in the Balandin's room. The wolf lying still on the floor, and Dimitri Balandin still lying dead on the bed. Everybody except Bones make an investigation check.
13.
18.
21.
As you all peer around the room, Jade and Vanya start to pick up on little things that Bones was unable to notice. Jade, when you stare at the knife wound in the man's chest and the angle at which the wolf has been stabbed, it becomes very apparent to you that the assailant must have been right-handed. Additionally, you find a bit of blood on the wife's bedpost, corroborating her story of having her head slammed against it, knocking her out. Vanya, you're a bit preoccupied with the door, where you realize there has been absolutely no sign of forced entry. And upon drawing closer attention to that, Jade peeks in through the keyhole and does not notice any damage to the inner mechanisms. The lock has not been forced.
Looks like somebody had a key. And if you see, boys, the angle of this knife work, because yes, I do have some experience, the person used their right hand to do this deed. So who do we know who's got a key and uses their right hand? Perhaps somebody who works for the train.
I dare say I do have an idea about how to further conduct this investigation. And billowing his cape out behind him, Calatabiano strides out the door.
The party in tow, Calatabiano moves through the dining car to the front of the train, where there are a few more passenger cars, and then another door that leads to the front car of the train and the engine. Alexei, the conductor, is standing outside of it keeping guard.
Oh, good. Is the investigation concluded?
Not quite, it would seem. There is still one more suspect.
Alexei looks around at all of you for a moment, realizes that everyone is talking about him.
What, me? You are suspecting me?
It seems that there was no tampering with the card of the deceased. Therefore, whoever entered must have had a ways of doing so. You hold the keys to all of the passenger cars, yes?
Yes, I hold the keys. But that does not mean that I use them to enter a room and commit a murder.
But it does not mean that.
Wait, what? Ah! And then he is grabbed by attendants and brought back into the dining car, where he is slammed into the seat.
Ah! Careful with my arm.
As you can see, Gov, the left one, out of commission.
Yes, I lost it in a train-related accident.
Then you are decidedly a right-hander, yes?
Yes, I do not see what this has to do with anything.
Give us a show of your wooden arm.
The conductor seems apprehensive, but then pulls the sleeve up a bit on his left arm, revealing a wooden prosthetic. No blood or bite marks.
Aha! Just like we thought. A wooden arm.
You have not done this very often, have you?
Be a detective on a Russian train? Mister, I've never been in Russia or on a train before.
Well, I do this all the time, so sit back and watch an expert at the work.
This is ridiculous. After I check in with last passenger, I retire to quarters and go to sleep.
Is that so? Is there anybody who can corroborate your story?
Well, you are the last person that I say goodnight to at the front of train, of course.
Oh yes, but then I went to sleep. And when I sleep like the sweetest sleep of death. I sleep like a rock. I sleep like a log. I sleep so deep and nothing can awake me except for the stench of murder.
Well, me too.
Well, then you must have never gone to sleep.
This is ridiculous. I went to sleep.
Let me paint a picture for you. It is a night. You walk down every garden, making sure you alone know where every passenger is located. You take your key, you check on all of us, you say a good night, we say a good night back. Then, when everybody is asleep, you sneak out of your car, you sneak down a hallway, you go to the room of Dmitri Balandin, you use your key to open his door. You take a knife from the kitchen. You stab Dmitri Balandin. You stab his beautiful wolf Luna. You smash the head of his wife against the bedpost. You take the jewels and you make off as if it never happened.
That is ridiculous. A ridiculous theory. You may check all of my things. I have no jewels. I have no blood upon me.
Where do you keep your effects?
I keep them in the rear car with everybody else's.
And where's your sneaky little key?
The key is here.
And he picks up the key and shows it to everyone. Can everybody make an investigation check, please?
21.
Nat 20.
12.
22.
Everyone but Jade clocks that the key is no longer attached to the man's retractable belt loop.
Wait a minute. When I was hauling everyone's bags onto the train, you had your key attached to a little thingy on your belt loop. Explain that.
The man blanches for a moment. I take it off.
Why exactly did you have to take it off, old man?
I do not have to. I simply do for comfort sometimes.
For comfort, eh? Well, is it comfortable to keep all the gems inside your fake wooden arm? And Bones attempts to unarm the man.
Make an athletics check.
16.
The arm comes off as the latches around the man's torso come undone, and Bones is holding a wooden prosthetic arm that he quickly realizes is filled with nothing.
Can I have that back, please?
Yeah. Oh, man, I am so sorry, Alexei.
This doesn't mean nothing. Check his conducting car.
Yes, to the conducting car.
The group walks forward to the conducting car, finds a little cot where the conductor sleeps, and begins to poke around. Everybody make an investigation check.
Nat 20.
3.
2.
21.
No sign of any jewels in here whatsoever.
Wait a minute. Didn't he say he keeps his stuff in the back? Everybody, to the caboose!
Calatabiano flips the mattress up and runs towards the back.
And the party begins to run through the train towards the back of the caboose. When the party reaches the last passenger car, opening the door to the Russian wilderness outside, there is no door leading in to the rear caboose. Rather, the party is forced to get out along the train tracks and move to the sliding doors. The conductor reaches up, unlatches it, and pulls it open. Trunks, bags, and other effects sit all over this little cabin, and the group steps up into it.
Before we go any further, I just have one thing to ask of you, friend. Was that key off of the string because, you woke up with it like that? You went to bed with it on the string and you woke up with it cut? And you're worried if you tell anyone that it might be your job because, you got the key stolen right from under your nose.
Roll an insight check.
21.
Alexei says nothing, but the color drains out of his face.
Well, this should be a very telling then.
After a bit of peering around, the conductor points to his things, which are in a large lockbox.
Surely you will have to, do the honors.
And Alexei does, unlocking it and thrusting open the top to reveal all of the gems from the Balandin's room.
Wait, no, I did not put this here. This is not me. You must believe me. It is not me.
Lofato, the case has been closed.
No, but
He looks genuinely confused, and suddenly he is at a loss for words, as several of the attendants immediately uncuff Jade and slap the cuffs around the conductor, binding his arm and his wooden prosthetic together.
This is not proof. Somebody put this here.
Theobald raises a finger. I must admit, chaps, he does seem a bit surprised to have found the jewels among his effects. Surely, if he were guilty, he would have made a greater effort to dissuade us from searching his things.
Would not that have appointed to guilt in and of itself, though?
True, you are the expert.
Well, look, now that I'm not a suspect anymore, what do you boys say we let this lovely detective get back to his work and we, get back to ours, hey?
Sure that Alexei is in handcuffs, Calatabiano turns, whipping his cape around to the rest of the group. I am going to telegram the Moscow police and tell them that we have a man. You will be apprehended and brought to justice as soon as we land. I will go ascend the ground and start the train. You have been more helpful than I thought that you would be.
And attendants bodily drag the conductor away towards the front of the train.
No, wait, but I did not do this!
The detective stalks off through the snow with several attendants at his side and goes to send his telegram at the small booth next to the train. Another attendant comes up to the rest of the party and offers to let them into the train car.
Theobald scrutinizes Alexei as he's dragged away.
Make an insight check.
16.
The man's cries seem truly desperate, and soon he is out of sight.
Bones turns to the group. Before we get back on the train, did that all feel a little too tidy for you? Having had my fair share of dalliances into the criminal sphere, usually crime isn't so neatly wrapped up like that, unless there's some sort of greater, police corruption involved.
Well, everyone heard me, yes? This is not the man. The key was stolen from him in the night, and he would very much not walk us straight towards where we're supposed to go and unlock the box himself. It was placed there. This is all wrong.
Yes, I agree, Vanya. This appears to be what I've read in some of my favorite penny dreadfuls as a frame job. Am I saying that right, Mr. Mahoney? A frame job?
Oh yeah, you commit a crime and then you find a patsy and you slap it on them. And they go to the hoosecow instead of you.
Alexei is the patsy.
Right, much as I like to wash my hands of the whole thing, I have to agree, didn't seem right. And also, might I just say, that detective is awfully well dressed. What's he doing in Russia from Italy?
And more to that point, was he just already on the train? Or did someone call him? How'd he get to the train? Was it the murder happened and he happened to be on the train and he just took over the That's not how police work.
I think we've been had.
Yes, it does seem very narratively convenient, but not very realistic.
It is one of two things. Either it is a man who is, done with the investigation, or, as I have been noticing from the very beginning, he is not very good at asking the right questions, or coming up with the right conclusions. How about we go talk to him? But this time, we are the ones asking the questions, yes?
Why don't the three of us go and Miss Pickitt? While he is preoccupied with Vanya, Mr. Mahoney, and myself, you could go have a look at the gentlemen's quarters.
I like your style, Gov.
Jade hops back onto the train, and the other three trudge around the outside of the train, moving towards the little booth that Detective Calatabiano is currently inside of, sending a little telegram via wire. Jade, make a stealth check.
29.
Jade seamlessly moves from car to car, looking very, very casual, until she reaches the front train car, where the detective's room is. There is one attendant standing outside the room as he guards the door to the front car.
Excuse me, sir. Did you see? Someone's been knocked unconscious. I think it's your detective friend.
Roll a deception check.
15.
What? The detective?
And he sprints out of the train car.
Jade tries the door.
It is locked.
Jade takes one of her pins and attempts to unlock the door.
Roll a thieves' tools check.
20.
And the door slides open. Meanwhile, outside, Vanya, Bones, and Theobald knock on the booth. The detective looks outside, a bit perplexed, puts down his headset, and steps outside.
Yes, gentlemen.
Detective Calatabiano, I just wanted to say, it has been such a pleasure watching you work. Would you mind signing an autograph for me? And Theobald produces a fountain pen and notepad.
Theobald, roll a persuasion check.
8.
Please, crack the case. is good enough for me.
Well, that's fair enough. Help!
Bones grabs Calatabiano by his maroon lapels and throws him out onto the snow.
Roll an athletics check.
14.
Bones lunges into the telegraph booth.
Get over here!
But Detective Calatabiano jukes him and ends up in the snow, now backing away from everyone and pulling a knife.
I say, what is the meaning of this?
Vanya shoots a look at Bones. Alright, that is not what we talked about.
Well, I suppose every toolkit needs a hammer.
Detective, if you are worth your salt, you would know that this is not a closed case. You heard me, I know you did, when I said that the key, it was cut and stolen from him in the night. It is plain as day.
You believe that I radioed about the conductor? You are mistaken. You see, this case was opened and shut the moment I set eyes on the four of you. Let me paint you another picture. It is the middle of the night. The conductor makes his rounds down the train. I opened my door for the conductor to say a good night, being the gentleman that I am. So I do not know if he had the key by the time he got to me. I believe one of you nicked the key in the night before. Your large friend went to the kitchen to take the knife. The woodcutter's daughter used those nimble fingers to open the lock. It would be very simple for you to smash the good lady's head against the bedpost while your large friend stabs the man and the wolf to death. Easy to cover if there are four of you. I believe it is time we got back on the train.
And suddenly, Vanya, Bones, and Theobald are surrounded by attendants, some of whom are armed with coachman rifles. Cutting back to the train car, Jade slinks into the detective's quarters, closing the door quietly behind her. This room is almost identical to the party's.
Jade goes for the locked trunk. Jade tries to crack the combination.
Roll a perception check.
10.
Jade is unable to hear any clicking from within this very tiny padlock.
Blast. Jade checks for secret compartments around the cabin.
Roll an investigation check.
5.
Jade finds none.
Jade opens the little private room.
Roll another investigation check.
11.
Nothing here either.
All right, here we go. And Jade goes to break open the trunk.
Roll an attack.
19. Jade reaches down into her pant leg and pulls a very long, thick knife out. She then uses the blunt handle side to smash the combination part of the trunk.
And the lid is loosed.
All right.
Inside the trunk, upon first glance, is a bundle of extra blankets.
Jade picks up the blankets and shakes.
And out falls the cane with the wolf's head atop it. The bottom half of the blanket is covered in blood.
Oh, what have we here? That's a spicy clue.
Jade takes the cane and slips it underneath her coat into her pant leg. She leaves the blanket where it is, closes the trunk, and slips out of the cabin, inserting a hairpin into the lock so that no one else can get in without blunt force.
Outside the window, you see guns pointed at all of your friends. Calatabiano seems flanked by 4 attendants total.
Right. Jade slides the window open, clambers up onto the top of the train, and looks down at the group.
Jade clambers up on the opposite side of the train and is soon on the roof.
Oi, boyos! Look what I found in Mr. Detective's train car. Bloke ain't all he says he is.
And she pulls out the cane with the wolf's head.
Make a persuasion check, Jade.
25.
All of the attendants look confused.
And the final piece of the puzzle. There she stands with the smoking gun.
All of the attendants look to Calatabiano and back up at Jade, and one of them pipes up.
Why would she show herself with smoking gun?
That's a very good question, sir. Keep asking good questions.
I have a good one. Miss Pickitt, wherever did you find that smoking gun?
Well, sir, I found it in a train car belonging to a certain detective, along with some other prized possessions you all might be interested in.
Detective, what is she talking about?
I haven't the faintest clue.
Let us paint you a picture. You, admittedly, were the only one who knew exactly when Alexei went to bed. as he said himself, up all night, checking every room one after the other. How could anyone possibly know when exactly to steal the key from Alexi's room unless they knew exactly when he was done?
Yes, and then by establishing yourself as the lead investigator in the murder and accusing all these other people, you created chaos. And as a fellow student of Sun Tzu, I know that in the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity.
Ask yourselves, how did you come to be employed by this man? Was it him who said he was your boss?
He showed us a police badge from Italy.
Oh, I feel much better about all those Italian comments.
Oh, a police badge. I would love to see it.
Calmly, Calatabiano reaches into his jacket and produces a badge.
Miss Pickitt, care to have a look? Theobald walks over to the train and tosses it up to Jade.
Jade, with some experience in forgery, catches the badge and takes a look at it.
Roll an investigation check with advantage.
16.
It is indeed a fake.
Well, looky here. A fake. Just as I suspected. I'd know one of these anywhere, having made quite a few myself.
Every single one of you have professed to so many crimes just in the last 2 hours.
Wait. How are we to know he's fake?
The Italian government puts a cerulean blue seal inside all of their badges to mark their authenticity. Why don't you take a look at the inside of this one? See if you see anything but a bit of rust.
And she tosses it back down to one of the attendants.
I see no seal, but I do not know if Italians have seal on badges.
At the very least, you'd know they'd be made of real brass. Why don't you have a bite?
The Russian looks confused for a moment, but then gives it a bite as one would test gold. And rather than bend or break the man's teeth, the badge snaps in half, made of a weak, polished tin. And all of the attendants turn their coach guns on Calatabiano.
Aha! Theobald whips around as if he's been waiting to do this the whole time, pulls apart his cane, revealing the sword inside, and puts it to the charlatan's throat. Carmelo Roberto Calatabiano, it is you who are under arrest.
I'm a bloody genius.
Calatabiano looks to the attendants and then to the sword at his throat. Call me Conman Welshma if you mean to do me in. And with a swish of his cape, the man formerly known as Carmelo Calatabiano tries to make a run for it into the snow.
Get back here! It's time for some frontier justice! Bones throws a boulder-sized fist at the back of Calatabiano's head as soon as he turns to run. 24.
Hit.
And then upon him being turned around with the force of the hit, throws an uppercut with his left. 22.
Hit.
And then throws 2 more. 16.
Hit.
17.
Hit.
And then one last one right under his chin, attempting to knock him out. 27.
5 hits. Roll damage.
45 damage.
Describe it.
Bones, so thrilled that it's finally time to punch someone, really goes to town on Calatabiano. Frontier justice!
The man formerly known as Calatabiano drops into the snow, completely unconscious. All of the attendants hesitantly put their firearms away, and gleaning quickly from the situation that they've gotten it wrong, move to restrain the unconscious man on the ground. Several Russians apologize to the group in bows and head nods as they are led back onto the train, just in time to see Alexei being uncuffed. He rubs the point where his prosthetic arm comes into contact with his shoulder. I owe you all a great debt. Thank you so much for clearing my name. May I ask a favor?
For your trouble, anything, man.
We do not mention how my key was cut from my pocket, and perhaps I keep my job on train and am more careful in future, huh?
Old chap, I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about. And Theobald gives him a wink.
Oh, all right, good. And then he reaches into his back pocket and pulls out several pristine tickets. Should you ever wish to ride with us again, consider these unexpiring.
I think we quite shall. This was the most exciting train trip I've ever been a part of.
On cue, the train begins to lurch forward. Oh, excuse me, I should return to my post, but I will see you off at the station. Please, try to enjoy yourselves for the rest of the couple hours we have till Moscow.
Jade pulls her right leg back in through the window and stands next to the group.
Well, should we see about that dining car?
As the group departs for the dining car, soon fed by the burly chef a meal of seafood and bread, Karine Balandin, now reunited with her gems, sits joyfully in a booth all by herself, admiring the emeralds and sapphires that once adorned her clothing. However, nobody makes a move for the cane with the wolf head upon it. It seemingly goes forgotten.
Theobald, doing his best to remain casual, picks up the cane and inspects it.
Roll an Arcana check.
22.
Upon the cane, all up and down the side of it, are ancient Russian texts, incantations that you recognize as originating from the shaman that used to roam Siberia free. If it is studied enough and the intricacies of the incantations are deciphered, it is likely that this cane may allow you to control the actions of a canine of your choice.
Oh my word, Miss Pickitt, this cane may be quite more than it appears. I do believe that this cane grants the power to hold sway over canine animals. It could be of great use to us in the future.
Bone sees this interaction and inwardly seethes. You're not even gonna ask any of us if we want it? That's just what you do, isn't it? You take all the bounty and you hoard it for yourself. He just wants power!
Oh my, what a fitting candidate for such an outburst. Bones Mahoney, the man who loves to put his greasy mitts where they don't belong.
Oh, greasy mitts now, huh?
You heard me, you up-jumped fry cook!
Both Theobald and Bones are standing around either side of the table, looking uncharacteristically enraged.
Jade, with a mouthful of food, leans over to Vanya. Did we miss something?
Everyone calm down. If this is how you act after one simple battle of wits with a con man, then you will never be able to deal with what we might be dealing with in Moscow.
No, you know what, Vanya? I don't have time for your crazy nonsense. This man is a bastard. The monkey told me so.
Oh, that's rich. The monkey told you so. He's an ape. A chimpanzee is an ape, and he told me to keep an eye on you.
There you go again. Talking down to old Bones, the only one who's protected you every step of the way.
Excuse me, boys. You're interrupting my delicious meal, so I'd like to know, who is this monkey person you're speaking of, and where did you talk to such a bloke?
Bones doesn't turn to acknowledge Jade's question and just sits slowly down, keeping eye contact with Theobald.
Theobald's jaw snaps shut, and he matches Bones in the descent back into his chair, not breaking eye contact either.
Jade gently takes the cane back from Theobald. Well, I'll just hold on to this for now, and we'll talk about it later.
Not looking away from Bones, Theobald says through gritted teeth, Yes, Miss Pickitt, I believe that might be best. Wouldn't want any oversensitive members of the group to have hurt feelings.
Or to boost any already inflated egos.
Tea-Leaf, do you mind if I take a look at it and perhaps hold on to it? I have a relationship with wolves.
Boy, Russia really does make people crazy. I seem to be the only one immune. I'll let you look at it a bit later. Let's all eat, shall we?
And the train chugs off into the wintry blizzard as Moscow looms in the distance. This has been a Hero Club production, produced by Nick Williams, George Primavera, and Jack Quaid, with associate producers Marty Abbe-Schneider and Dylan McCollum. Voice acting by George Primavera, Nick Williams, Marty Abbe-Schneider, Dylan McCollum, Lelia Symington, Gabe Greenspan, Matthew McCollum, Jackie Emerson, Adam Rice-Carlson, and Jack Quaid. The City of Mirrors Overture composed and produced by Matthew McCollum. Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod, Ben Doyle, and Matthew McCollum for their amazing music, Mage Hand Press for their genius D&D 5th edition homebrew, Marty Abbe-Schneider for his incredible artwork, and Ali Catanese, our hero. Follow us on Instagram at Hero Club Podcast, on Twitter at Hero Club Pod, on Twitch at twitch.tv/hero_club, and check out our website, heroclubpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and welcome to the club. What'd you get? What did you get?
Botch.
Oh!
Wow.
Yeah!
Wow. Oh my god.
No!
Tell me I'm not about to Manchurian Candidate strangle all of my friends.
I love it.
You are not gonna believe what it is.
What is it?
It is also a botch.
No, it's not.
Oh fuck, dude.
Oh!
Oh my god.
Holy shit.
All right, never mind.